This process is actually called Zoom bombing. I spoke with a local cybersecurity expert who explained that just as common as this event is, there are plenty of easy ways to prevent it. Let me show you something really quickly. This ice, it's pretty hard and it's covering the entire back of this home here. We just got on scene a few minutes ago. They've actually blocked off all four corners from Massachusetts and Shenango. There's quite a few fire trucks here. I'm going to step out of the way and show you what we're looking at here. Other things left behind, we have some signs. One of them, I can't breathe, obviously in reference to George Floyd, but there's another one here as well. Say her name. That's in reference to Breonna Taylor. She's another young woman who was killed earlier this year. A lot of those demonstrations concentrated in Niagara Square. In fact, behind me, the McKinley Monument is where a lot of people gathered last year.
Prosecutors across New York State, including Albany, Westchester, and Nassau counties, have requested the materials from the investigation. Hochul was already treading carefully. She would not say much about the investigation and did not answer our questions for months at a time.
There are posters posted all over campus, similar to this one, offering a $10,000 reward for any information that could lead to her whereabouts. We've actually heard from quite a few restaurants across Western New York. A lot of them say they've already started making plans to move forward with these new restrictions. And in fact, this year is much warmer, at least to me, than it was last year. But I still have my hand warmers. And Chris, you've been running all over the place. Chris Taggart here. In the event that conditions do start to get worse, he plans to add a few more crews out to make sure that the roads are treated for people who have to drive. I'll send you some more updates later on in the evening. Until then, back to you. It's a video that's gotten nationwide attention.
That's what you are.
Buffalo Police Lieutenant Michael DeLong captured on camera using a derogatory term against a woman while she records him on her cell phone. The woman behind the camera is Rueda Salim, who says she was in shock when the incident initially happened.
I didn't expect for the situation to escalate as far as it did.
Rueda told me she was with a friend at this 7-Eleven on Prospect Avenue on Sunday when they saw a man standing outside as they were going in. On their way out, she saw multiple officers approach him. She told me one of the officers had a baton, and that's when she decided to start recording.
And I didn't want to leave him there.
According to Rueda, another officer on scene yelled at her and told her to leave. Eventually, DeLong approached her, and the events in the now viral clip followed soon after.
I became really upset when the lieutenant came towards me. I don't think it's appropriate to talk to a civilian that you're supposed to protect in that way.
Rueda also told me after the incident, an officer took note of her friend's license plate before they got in the car and drove off. Shortly after, they were pulled over for going the wrong way on a one-way street. And she told me, aside from DeLong's words, she believes his actions toward her were racially motivated. The president of the Police Benevolent Association, John Evans, sees it differently.
Now, I get it. You know, we're police officers, supposed to be professional and everything else. But, you know, I mean, yeah, did you get caught at a weak moment? You know, she absolutely caught him at a weak moment.
He tells me he hasn't spoken with DeLong about the incident, but he's known him for some time and says race wasn't a factor.
I don't think you'll see, you know, Lieutenant DeLong involved in anything like that again. He's learned, obviously, from it. And I don't know, I think that'll be that.
But for Rueda, that's not enough.
I want him fired. I want his pension gone.
Here's where things stand right now with this incident. Lieutenant DeLong has been suspended without pay while an investigation into what happened takes place. Additionally, John Evans says he wants to see DeLong's training card to see if he completed a cultural competency training that should have prepared him for the incident on Sunday. In Buffalo, I'm Karys Belger. Back to you. Across Western New York, vaccines are being rolled out according to the governor's distribution plan. Earlier this month, Governor Cuomo made it clear he wants people of color to be made a priority for the vaccine. But there's just one thing.
It just doesn't make me feel comfortable or make me feel at ease.
There's still mistrust among people of color about the vaccine. Keisha Lawson, who lives in Buffalo, says there's a number of factors at play in her hesitation. The speed with which the vaccine was produced is one, and the other,
given the history of, the public health system with regard to people of color's health, I'm just not sold.
Henry Louis Taylor is a professor at the University at Buffalo and works with the Health Equity Task Force. He says not only is this feeling common among people he's spoken with, it's also completely understandable.
Historically, African Americans have been victimized by the medical industry. I mean, many people now are aware of the Tuskegee syphilis events. There were efforts made to sterilize Black women without their knowledge.
Stories of events like these have been passed down in communities of color, and he says getting over that suspicion will be the biggest hurdle. But Taylor does believe education will be part of the solution. The other part will be connecting with people in the community.
This is why members of that community that are really, really trusted are the ones that stand forward.
Keisha tells me something like this might help, but she still wouldn't completely be sure. She doesn't think she will get the vaccine unless someone close to her said it was safe.
My next door neighbor, telling me that they got it, and months later, they're still feeling fine. That's what makes us more comfortable.
And Heather, I should mention that I put out a call on social media asking people of color in the area, same question, would you get the vaccine? And if not, why? And a lot of them said the same things Keisha, the woman in my story, said. They're not sure about the speed in which this vaccine was rolled out, but also the historical mistreatment of people of color by medical professionals makes them hesitant. In Buffalo, I'm Karys Belger. Back to you. Yeah, hi there, Kate. When I was speaking to people about Black American Sign Language, they said it was like ASL, but with a little more seasoning. And there are a few distinct differences between the two. For example, simple words like hurt look a little different. In ASL, this is hurt. In Black American Sign Language, this is hurt. And those are just a few of the nuances. And I found that the history of BASL is just as rich as the language itself. Take a look at this sign language TikTok video. The woman in this video is Nakia Smith, and you may notice she's not using standardized ASL. Nakia is using Black American Sign Language, and along with other users on the TikTok app, she's bringing attention to an often overlooked part of Black history.
You think at the end of the Civil War, over 100 years ago, and people are just starting to learn about it.
Dr. Hill is a linguistic professor and dean at the Rochester Institute of Technology. He's been working for years to help preserve Black American Sign Language. He says, like many things in Black history and culture, Black ASL was born out of necessity.
So Black deaf people who were living in the South didn't really attend school. Even though there were white deaf schools, Black deaf children were forbidden from enrolling in them. And so after the Civil War, they did start establishing Black deaf schools, and they were segregated, which meant that there were to be no contact between white and Black deaf people, including the children.
As a result, Black people in the deaf community made their own signs and developed their own language. It's been the subject of research papers, books, and a documentary. Signing Black in America, which Hill makes an appearance in, details the story of Black American Sign Language.
Many of the students would talk about how white ASL was so much better and so much clearer. The books at the white schools were better. So there was this sense that standardized ASL or white ASL was better than Black ASL.
Which Hill says led to code switching, where Black deaf people would primarily use standardized ASL in public and Black ASL in private, or sometimes not at all. Now, viral videos like this one by Nakia Smith are pushing Black American Sign Language back into the spotlight. Other TikTok users like Andre or DJ DefTunes are doing the same. Dr. Hill says it's users like them that are preserving the language, and he hopes the momentum will prompt real understanding and change for people of color in the deaf community. Karys Belger, Channel 2 News.